I'd like to welcome everybody this afternoon. This is a very special time at a very special place today. We're fortunate to have Commissioner Whitaker and Commissioner Schroer here with us today. And this is a distinct contrast to the day of July 2011 when it was 100 plus degrees, and now we have a little cooler weather. We do have some elected officials here. I did see County Mayor Rogers Anderson here, and I noticed some county commissioners, and also we have some aldermen here. So if you'd raise your hand if you're an elected official and let us recognize you appropriately. This entire process started back in 2006 after the city obtained the Eastern Flank Battlefield. A master plan was drawn and the vision for a loop road into the property was developed. This property is very significant, and this 110 acres is the largest remaining tract of the battlefield, and it is a focal point for the city of Franklin and of course all the battlefield preservation groups. We're thankful that we received a $500,000 enhancement grant, and many of the same people were here that day. And since and the total project cost is about $1.27 million. We're going to recognize some very special people right now that have been involved with the project. And first I'll start with some of the groups that have been involved, and you'll hear from them in a few moments. But Franklin Charge, the Battle of Franklin Trust, Franklin Battlefield Commission, Paul Hosen, Franklin Engineering Director, Ben Worley, City Project Manager, David Parker, City Engineer, Lisa Clayton, Parks Director, Kevin Lindsay, Facility Superintendent, Stephanie Ward, TDOT Local Programs, Mickey Dobson, Barge Cawthon, Littlejohn Engineering Associates, Smith Seckman Reed, Incorporated Civil Contractors, and Joe Matlock. So if I called your name, raise your hand so we can all recognize you and give you appropriate recognition. I'd now like to invite Commissioner Schroer to come up and make a few comments, and to keep the program moving, I hope all the speakers know their order, and if not, I can nudge you when it's your time. So, Commissioner, welcome to Franklin. Glad to have you back.
Did you say you were going to nudge me when it was time for me to shut up? Is that what you said?
No, sir, I didn't say that, but I will.
Well, it was a lot warmer that day, and I'm happy that that day my wife, who was not here, gets to see the end of this. So, Mary Ann, we're glad you're here today, and this is a great day for Franklin and this battlefield and what goes on here and all the tourism. And I won't take anything away from Commissioner Whitaker, my friend Susan, and who really does a great job in directing what is one of the best states in the nation for tourism, and we're glad to have this. And this is something that's been talked about throughout this city for so many years, and it's such a great day to have it come to fruition. And we're just proud to be here. And what you all need to know is what happens in TDOT is we have the opportunity to do what's called enhancement grants. And I will tell you that the City of Franklin has benefited from many of those. And I do want to acknowledge Stacy Watson, who understands how TDOT works now better than I. So she may be the new TDOT commissioner, at least through enhancement grants. It's an arduous process, and I will tell you that this is now 2 years and 4 or 5 months. It's probably one of the fastest projects that have ever been delivered through an enhancement grant, I will tell you. And so and a lot of that has to do with the work that's done. But we're able to spend somewhere in the neighborhood of $14 to $15 million a year on things that aren't traditional. And there has been lately a lot of conversation in Congress about not letting us do that these monies should go to roads and only transportation initiatives. And when you're here today or this morning, I was in a small town in Tennessee, and we were looking at, we did 2 ribbon cuttings. One was on a signalization project, one was on a 8,000-foot walking trail, and they never could have gotten it done without that money. And there are so many communities around this state that benefits from these enhancement grants that I hope that we continue. The governor wants to continue. The governor would have liked to have been here, but he had some major educational announcements today that has, go home and read the newspaper and watch it. We've made some great strides in education in the last year, and it's a pretty big day for Tennessee for that. But I'm happy to be involved in this. I was involved in it as a mayor. I'm involved in it as a TDOT commissioner, so it's the gift that keeps on giving, and I'm happy about that. But I'm going to turn it over to, aren't you next, Susan? I didn't get my, and this is the greatest tourism director, and what, you got a national award for being the best, what was it?
The National State Travel Director of the Year.
The National State Travel Director of the Year. And, you know, anytime you get a national recognition, because I've never had one, it's got to be really, really good. And, you know, and I always strive to be like her. But she does such a great job, and such, not only as the state, but she puts her money where her mouth is in Franklin. She lives here. She's a dedicated citizen and uses her expertise not only to help the state, but really to help the city. And we're honored and proud to have you here. So I'm going to introduce Commissioner Whitaker.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Well, I am honored to be here, and as Commissioner Schroer mentioned, I am a resident here, and I have been a member of the board of the Battle of Franklin Trust, and I was just recently elected to the Board of Trustees for the Civil War Trust. And I will tell you that what excites me about what Franklin does is they know where to go to partner to make sure that the vision that they have for this beautiful, beautiful region and this historic region and the cutest city, I think, in the whole state of Tennessee, I think they know how to go and find those partnerships to make it just grow and grow. And tourism, it's huge business in Tennessee. This area is booming. That's more tax dollars that you get to use for education and all those other great things, essential services that don't pay for themselves. But my hat's off really to all of those players that were mentioned early on, and the Civil War Trust, the $500,000 even in the purchase. Here, I'm talking with Jim Lighthizer, who is the head of that organization. He mentioned it's one of the most significant public-private partnerships that's ever been done, and they just took their hats off. They wish they could have been here today, but they had other things that they're out there getting more and preserving more battlefields. But it's one of those things that makes us all extremely proud to be able to be a part of, and then to watch what happens when this road is open, and now you start to see the people coming here. They take time to get out, to walk around, to actually be where the battle took place. When I first started and was with the Battle of Franklin Trust and had gone over to Shiloh in my job as the Commissioner of Tourist Development, just standing in these hallowed grounds, really, it just gives me chills sometimes to think about what happened here. And it's extraordinarily important for us to make sure that as we go forward, that, it's wonderful. I love tourism. Tourism provides a lot of dollars, but there's other reasons why we want to make sure these battlefields are preserved and interpreted so that the generations, my grandkids who live with me right here in Williamson County, that when I bring them here, they understand how important the things that happened here were, that happened. And as I lose my place here in my mind, because it always gets to me when I come, this isn't just about bringing people here and spending dollars. That's going to happen. It's also going to give people an understanding of the huge price that was paid here. And I didn't know that. You can tell from listening to me. I'm not from around here originally. I'm a Yankee, south side of Chicago, as southern as I ever got until I moved here. And I fell in love with this state, love the fact that the people here love their heritage, and that they empower the people that are the public servants to put together the kind of historical interpretive experience that we can have our kids come to, that we can understand better what's happened here and can share that. It's not going to happen unless people like you get together, and I'm just telling you, It's hats off to all of you. The fact that you're here, and the fact that you were here 2 years ago when this was just getting started, and the fact that you were here back 10 years ago and 15, 20 years ago with Franklin's Charge, and just looking at what needed to happen here. It's easy for me then to come behind as the Commissioner of Tourism and say, hey, we can put a Civil War trail together. We have 273 markers in 77 counties. That's great. We've already given out 1.8 million of the Civil War trail guides to our welcome centers. And people want to know where these places are, but it's up to you to have actually done the work, made the partnerships, go to the people that have those dollars, make your case, and then come together and actually cut the ribbon. And I want to tell you how proud I am of you. I'm proud to be a citizen here in Franklin, and I'm really thankful that you've got this on the map again, because now, as a Tourist Development Commissioner, I'm real excited about the revenue too. Thank you very much. Oh, and I get to introduce our Chief Operating Officer of the Battle of Franklin Trust, who I have watched do an extraordinary job in marketing just the history between Carton and Lotes House and the Carter House. And actually, there's a whole story that remains to be developed, I think, and I'm excited that they have such incredible people that are volunteering their time. But they've got a great leader there with Eric, and I will tell you, I've watched him do some pretty extraordinary things in marketing, and he knows I've given him a hard time sometime and wanted to say, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? He's always had a good answer, and the results have been extraordinary. So come on up, Eric, and share kind of the historic place of this.
What a great day. The story just keeps getting better and better, but I actually want to do something a bit odd. I want everyone to turn around and look that way. Imagine what that would look like with about 90 condominiums on it. Something happened in 2005 that prevented that from happening. And there are several people that I want to thank. One of the folks I wish could be here is Robert Hicks, because Robert had the vision that this needed to be saved. And he helped get the ball rolling. And Robert, you know, he's complaining that he's in Natchez, but I bet he's really not feeling all that bad as he's enjoying some time away. But Rod and Kay Heller for helping save this ground, for literally the kind of people who put their money where their mouth was and stepped up to the plate. People like Ernie Bacon, Pam Lewis, who helped make this happen. It's easy for me to talk about history. I have the easy job. But this is a dream come true. Now, on a personal note, I love the road. I think the road's fabulous because I don't have to drive up that awful thing every single day. But 50,000 visitors a year travel up this road. Next year, you'll see the 150th anniversary of the Battle of Franklin unfold all across this city, a reenactment on the battlefield. So the Battle of Franklin Trust, and specifically Carton, are huge benefactors of this. But Franklin's the big winner, and a little segment of the Great American Story is the biggest winner. Because earlier today I was just watching a couple of clips, people talking about preservation all across the country. This is hallowed ground. So I know this is a day about a road, but this is about an important piece of ground, an important piece of our history. I want to thank everyone who has helped us through the years, because we'll be coming back and asking for more help. Our work here was one of the first huge victories in Franklin, but we have many, many other things to do. So Commissioner Schroer, Commissioner Whitaker, Mayor Moore, Mary Pierce, Stacy, you think your work has just started? Oh, it has only just begun. Mary Ann, Joe Smith, I didn't see Joe. Joe and Sam Huffman leading the charge to save a piece of ground like Collins Farm. Save the Franklin battlefield was all alone in the wilderness. There's been so many people who've been involved. Greg Wade, the Franklin Roundtable. I mean, I could go on and on. Danny Anderson, who did so much work here at Carton. I think it's a dream come true for all of us, every single one of us. And now I have the distinct pleasure for the second time in less than a year to introduce the real power behind so much of the preservation work that's done in Franklin. and that is Julian Bibb. So Julian, I won't embarrass you like I did last time.
Oh, me. Well, Eric, thank you so much. And you're right, what an incredible day. What an exciting part of the evolution of our local battlefield story. To just be here today, as I look around, I see so many folks, all of you all, have been so important to what we've been able to accomplish so far in battlefield preservation in Franklin. And I think back to the early days that Eric was talking about when a group of folks sat on the porch at Carnton and dreamed about this entire piece of property becoming a park, dreamed about this road, and carried forth that dream and brought in so many others. In those early days, the group reached out and said, if a task like this is going to be undertaken, it's going to need to involve every preservation group in Franklin. And to the extent beyond Franklin it can go, we want to involve those folks. And I can remember, I was not in that group that sat on the porch at Carnton dreaming this dream. The dream was Robert Hicks' dream, and he brought it out to that smaller group. And that smaller group, I see so many of you here today. And then that group visited with the Hellers because this property was owned by an LLC, and they purchased it for $5 million. And then the group went about to repurchase the property. And that group joined with the city of Franklin, and then it joined all the organizations. It joined the Heritage Foundation together, Franklin's Charge, Save the Franklin Battlefield, Carnton, Carter House, Franklin Battlefield Trust, the Land Trust for Tennessee, the Tennessee Civil War Preservation Association, the Harpeth River Watershed Association, the African American Heritage Society, the Tennessee Civil War National Heritage Area, the Lotes House, the Chamber, and the Williamson County Convention and Visitors Bureau. All of those groups locally joined together to preserve this property, to start this park, to dream about this road, and to dream about battlefield preservation in our community beyond this piece of property. That group, as they began to dream, as Susan talked about, brought in the Civil War Trust from Washington, D.C., and their significant resources from the American Battlefield Protection Program and their donor base. That's a 60,000 member organization across the nation. All of those efforts were supported by the city of Franklin. And I think back to those days, it's been through 3 mayoral terms. 2 of those mayors are here. The current mayor, Ken Moore, and our former mayor, John Schroer, and the members of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Many of you all are here that joined in that effort to keep this vision alive, to make this park, to bring this road that's going to impact tourism greater than we can imagine. And this road was a direct correlation to the promises made by all those preservation groups and by the city of Franklin to the residents in this area. Because when the park was started, the commitment was made that we would bring the traffic off of Carnton Lane and bring it into the park in this manner. And what a beautiful way that it's happened. Commissioner Schroer and Mayor Moore, thank you so much for this road. It is beautiful as you drive in, and you can only envision how that's going to continue to improve this area for battlefield preservation. As the dream began in earnest, the city of Franklin created a battlefield commission. And when I think about this road in particular, I think about 2 members of that battlefield commission that continued to work with the city and continued to work with preservation groups and continued to coordinate efforts with TDOT to make this road a reality. And that is Mike Skinner and Ernie Bacon. And thank you so much for what you all did to make this a reality. And then thank you, Franklin Parks Department and Lisa Clayton and her team what a beautiful job you all have done. What a fun celebration we're having here today. And then thank you to another group that joined in with us. And another group that joined in was the Tennessee Civil War National Heritage Area and Dr. Carol West. Van West brought so much attention to this area and this park in particular and the Franklin story at large. And the next celebration that we'll have probably at this piece of property is when his signage is developed that he and the city of Franklin are working on that will cross the park and that will be announcing different venues of action that took place on this park, different celebrations. And so to Van West, we offer our hearty thanks and appreciate the money that he has brought to the table. As Susan pointed out, it's almost been a revolution in Franklin about the Civil War, because as all these local groups began to tell a story that became a national story, then you had a number of state agencies enter into our battlefield action. Of course, TDOT did. The Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation did as well. I don't know if you all remember a few years ago, we did the stream restoration, taking the stream that's on this property back to its 1864 appearance. The State Department of Tourism and the Civil War Trails Program. What an enormous group of people that have come together. And when you think about all those organizations I've named and the millions of dollars that have come into this battlefield preservation effort on this property and others in Franklin, you think about what a huge community effort it takes to make something significant happen. And so Franklin should be congratulated for all of its efforts, and all of you should be congratulated as well. Thank you very much. With that, I want to introduce the chair of the battlefield preservation efforts, Jay Sheridan.
Thank you, Julian. As the others have said, it's incredible to stand here and think back to 2005 and the way that this project really kickstarted. You know, it sparked the momentum for this effort that's achieved so much since then. And I think it was 2009, around the time that the unknown soldier was found, that the city's ad hoc battlefield task force became a full commission. And it was an indication then, I think, of the importance of collaboration and the focus on maximizing the opportunity that was before us. Today, the Battlefield Preservation Commission comprises 18 citizen appointees who represent the local preservation and heritage organizations and other stakeholders in the community. And it serves as an advisory body to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen and the city administrator. And we work hand in hand with the planning and parks departments and others as needed on projects like this and others. And over the last couple of years, it's really been remarkable to be a witness to the accelerating progress. Armed with the consensus from the preservation organizations and with the city's partnership, we've been able to focus on three main objectives, three main priorities leading up to next year's sesquicentennial, and that's restoring the historic cemeteries, enhancing Fort Granger, and the expansion of the overall story and connectivity. And looking around, you see the visual evidence of connectivity that aids tourists and locals alike in understanding the scope of what happened here, the geographical scope, that it wasn't a small battle, that it was everywhere in the city, and the fencing that you see pulling in that defines the city-owned Civil War sites, the entering the battlefield signs, along with the interpretive signage that Julian mentioned that's being installed. The Rest Haven and Old City cemeteries are now on the National Register, and there's a restoration plan being developed, and the work to enhance Fort Granger continues. Our commission members have done extensive research to expand our story beyond the main battle, to reveal more about the occupation, the more than 200 military engagements that occurred in Williamson County over the 4 years of the war, and what all of that meant to the civilian experience and to Reconstruction. So the stars are aligning on so many levels as we look towards the 150th anniversary in 2014, and certainly the city and the state deserve a lion's share of the thanks. I just want to say, to have spearheaded the Loop Road project, secured the funding, and completed this road ahead of schedule is nothing short of miraculous in such a short period of time. It's just one more sign of how much can be accomplished when we all work together. And I was wanted to thank Alderman Skinner as well and Mr. Bacon. They really did, from the commission standpoint, push this through. And it's really incredible to see it all come to fruition. Together, we can continue to cultivate an economic engine in heritage tourism while preserving our past for the benefit of future generations. So thank you to all of you for the critical role you play.
Well, we've come to that moment where we can get in our cars in just a few minutes, but we're going to have a ribbon cutting. And I just wanted to kind of summarize very quickly that we've mentioned a lot of names. We mentioned a lot of preservation groups. Our community is a winner in this. Our community, our children who are going to be here in the future, the state's a winner to continue to tell that story that happened in Franklin in November of 1864. So let's cut the ribbon. Say when.
All right, now you do it again. There we go. You got it surrounded. Put that perfect.